Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this part 2 of the chapter 11 stuff over here. So I wanted to do this quick little follow-up to a few items that was not able to achieve in the first video. And that's because I had some issues seeing the golden item and I did not know about the researchables. So, as we can see here, this is the missing item. So finally we get that, there's that one extra block of gold, which is 5. And then here it is, the Golden Sextant. All allies as a quick action gain combat expertise. They gain follow-ups, but it does not stack with scrapper bonuses. And it does Golden Guidance. All attacks gain True Strike, Boon Buster, and Mighty Means. And I believe Mighty Means is extra damage to the worthy. So this is pretty cool. Now, before everybody gets all googly eyes over it and all heart aflutter, do understand that this is essentially what Hogun can bring when he has his personal ISO, and Hogun can actually bring it more readily because he sets up flanked and fumbling. Now, I will say that requires him to get the debuff to stick, but for the combat expertise and follow-up parts of it, it is basically like Hogun. So if you look at this and be like, man, I wish I had access to something that can kind of do it already, well, here you go. Hogun with his ISO could do it. But Golden Guidance with the True Strike, the Boon Buster, and Mighty Means, of course, he cannot provide. Boon Buster is going to be pretty much a huge key against FISA teams, and of course Cloak and Dagger, as they like to do their rising up. And now we need to talk about the researchables, and I think I'll actually try to go through more of Mission 1 here. The ISO-infused Mighty Mace, Diffused Defense, grants Diffused Defense, immune to the Meteor Swarm and ground attack to all allies at the start of combat. It's a single target melee item, no cooldown. Mighty Means deals extra damage to those deemed worthy. Ruin removes and blocks all divine buffs near fatal. So this is an anti-null stick. ISO-infused Mighty Skull grants virtuous immune to sin to all allies at the start of combat. So this is anti-Ghost Rider's new character. And again, Mighty Means, but it also causes Dark Forces, Shaken, and Third Charm. Now, we have not seen Third Charm since that set that had the Roar of the North in it. The original Thor set? Valkyrie set? Valkyrie set? Yeah. If hit points is over 25%, it cannot be reduced below 25%. And expires the next round. So that's pretty cool. And if you look, that is up every single round. So that could be very interesting on offense. Now, we don't know exactly how Ghost Rider's worthy character is going to come out in PvP quite yet. But Third Charm alone is pretty good, and Shaken with Dark Forces is pretty good. ISO-infused Mighty Trident, Magic Warding. So this one is, I'm going to call it Anti-Angrier, because during Damon's Spec Ops, we had to deal with getting upgradable Tridents. So Flustered, Perplexed, and Banished. Unable to summon, unable to buff and debuff. Now, you may think, this is very anti-Angrier, and I would agree, but it's also very anti-FISA, as buff and debuff is locked out. Heal would still be available, unfortunately, because heal is a heal, not any one of the others. But Hippocratic Oath would be shut down, and her level 9 would be shut down. Plus, Anti-Summon is also going to work against Black Knight's Mighty character. ISO-infused Mighty Hammer grants Steel Nerves immune to pain. Also, you know, obviously this one is anti-Scrin, but you could say this is also anti-Rocket Raccoon to a certain degree. Grants Steel Nerves immune to pain, customized Mighty Means, and exhaustion, fatigued after taking an extra turn, can't take additional extra turns. And it's a buff blocker, also very good for FISA and Cloak and Dagger teams. ISO-infused Mighty Sword, Adamantium, Mighty Means, and Pain. Pretty neat. I mean, this one's kind of at about average. And by the way, all their damages come in at pretty much the same. So that won't sway you there. ISO infused Mighty Dagger. Skjolder. Grants Skjolder immune to runes to all allies at the start of combat. This is the one that I think is going to be just downright huge. I mean, shutting down the runes, if this goes viral to a certain degree, if this takes off exponentially, we finally will see the end of Kurth. Because if we shut down runes and we can cleanse her debuffs, there is not much that Kurth is going to be able to do anymore. And of all of the anti-worthy ones, let's be honest, I think we could agree that Kurth is the most plentiful of the worthy. I mean, we saw her going with Emma back in that time. We see her going with Cloak and Dagger. She could also be good with Fiza. I mean, she's the one who slows everything down. And if she could be run out of the meta, especially by this dagger, I mean, that's it. Done. Here we have Aqualung. Jazz Flute. Grants Aqualung immune to drowning and waterlogged. Mighty means quick action. So this one's going to be interesting. It's a melee quick action that does weak point and generalized. Now, we don't really have to deal with anti-Nurkod stuff too much. However, a quick action weak point and generalized is pretty nutty good. And I could see people running this just for the generalized, because to get that in the hands of the agent, that's not that easy to do anymore. We have that Wakandan Mace, which has a cooldown. The Scroll of Ruda Marath can be adapted into it, or you can run the Son of the Demon set, or you can run a Power Charge and the Sonic Cannon from the Vindication set, and that's AoE. But this is up every single round, and this is available to the agent, and it's a quick action. So this is pretty good. That works on a lot of things. And then we have the ISO-infused Mighty Axe. Grants Resolute, immune to opportunist debuffs to all allies. Incapacitation and immobilized. Now, this one is just good overall. I mean, Resolute kind of shuts down the Scroll of Ruda Marath. You're not going to deal with Staggered. You're not going to deal with any of the opportunist buffs. You're going to deal with Manipulated, clearly. But if you're afraid that often your defense is getting staggered constantly, so that they can't dodge and whatnot, then this is pretty good. If you believe that you are running into too many people running the Scroll of Ruda Marath on defense, then that axe is pretty good. However, it has seemed to be that lately, of course, every Tom, Dick, and Harry goes for what I like to call the door prize set, the psychic set. People are tending to favor the psych operator now more than the Scroll of Ruda Marath, which is in reality actually kind of sad, because the Scroll of Ruda Marath just does more. The only thing the psych operator really nets you is the fact that it is the free action, but the Scroll of Ruda Marath sets up the need to never have to worry about accuracy. Plus, opportunist debuffs can get pretty good. In all actuality, I think it is a little bit hard to really directly compare the two, because it is half of one and 6 of another in reality. I mean, you are trading stuff back and forth between the scroll and the psych operator, but yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it until I come up to that fight at the end of Chapter 1, from which I'm seeing is giving people some shit. So, let's pause it, and I'll be back. So, here we are at the end of the Mock and Morgan Le Fay fight. Basically, what happened was Morgan was very close to death. Mock came in, and everybody talked about it. we Mock tried to beat the shit out of her, and she just stayed alive for a little while. And, you know, had internal bleeding, had bleeding from me. I brought the peace pulsar in case I needed to spare. And, Mock continued to smack on her a little bit, and they just both quote unquote died. Basically, Morgan Le Fay died, and Mock did pursue, and then they disappeared. There were some people who were getting stuck in infinite loops, but I'm not really too sure why. Mine seemed okay. So we'll see the rewards over here. Mighty Means. And of course, the building augmented ISO. This has begun to generate some complaints over here that we're not seeing weapons and stuff. And of course, the ISOs are old. And of course, I would get the Fistborn Detitillator over here, or Deshitillator. Alright, so here is the end of it all. Use Spitfire, Union Jack. So they're all team-ups in Chapter 11 here as you do the sub-bosses. But you know what? I mean, you could do a simulator and bring Spitfire, Union Jack in there. And then, hell, you could do Bruiser simulators if you're training Ronin and bring Captain Britain. But, I mean, you are certainly welcome to do those outside of combat. I mean, outside of the chapters and everything. So I'm going to get Quicksilver here. And we will see the deploy counter go up. Here it goes. And we're getting Colossus from this one. And before I wrap up the video, I'll take a look at this heroic over here. Pre-charge starts combat with 3 stored energy, high chance to counterattacks against allies while crease speed is active. I'm predicting that my Captain Marvel should carry the fight over here rather than Kamala, who has the weakness of Ironclad over there. And Captain Marvel, of course, gets the benefit of having X-Ray, which means she's going to be able to set the team up pretty nicely with Tactician on Blaster. So, first thing, we're going to get Rally. Ooh, wow. Odd that. So, of course, he's immune to energy, which is going to be a little bit of a problem there, but there is always melee. Wow, just kick fucking Kamala's ass, why don't you? Let's try with the evade single target. Gains an extra turn when targeted by an energy attack immune to ground, so we'll have Kamala assist on X-Ray over here. Ironclad performs massive attacks when enemies are grounded, protects X-Ray from range and takes reduced damage, deflects damage from energy attacks too. Wow. What is that? Huh. Interesting. So this will be fun. Kamala's probably going to get her ass kicked over here. So it looks like you're going to have to rely on the physical attacks to take down X-Ray, and then just dump everything onto Ironclad. You get a boot to the head. Ooh, good God. Alright. We'll have to redo that one again. Now that I actually read about X-Ray, I'll just have to redo that one and open up a little bit better with Captain Marvel. So, alright guys, there's my follow-up to the Chapter 11 shenanigans that we have. And I feel bad, but already some complaints are coming in for Playdom with the lack of weapons and everything. But, honestly, I think these research items are a little powerful, so I'm going to be waiting to reserve judgment on that. Thanks a lot, everybody. See ya.